So this was a video that I was supposed to make a few days ago. I kind of forgot actually about this video, honestly, because I don't know, I just am making this kind of like on a few things I've come across. Not everyone, and this is not like tech, you know, platforms or anything of that nature that specifically focus in on women like this or anything of that nature. It's just sometimes when I watch advice about women, with dating, for me it's like um you can't really remove something that's a part of me that's the main thing about me, That's just how I see it. And honestly, if I'm looking for a man, I don't want to really, unless I'm changing the bad things about me, sure, but I don't feel this part of me as a bad part of me, and I'm very comfortable with it. Yeah, I'm more comfortable with that than a lot of other things about me, but we're not going to get into that. Oh my god, I'm looking. Well, anyway, I'll experiment later, but anyway. Um, so I always feel like some platforms, hypergamous platforms and things of that nature, it's like they're always telling, women, if you want to. And I guess my thing is not the hypergamous platforms. It's like my problem is that people always act like to find a man of value, you need to do certain things, and it's like one issue I have with this is that it's like, now what's of value? What's of value to me is something that is high value to me. So for me, one issue that I've always had is masculinity and femininity, and I've talked about it often. Men don't want to be, I mean, what they always are telling us how women are supposed to be, feminine and all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't understand why I need to be anything different than what I am. And that's why for me, it's like, I would never really want to be feminine, honestly, um, on many levels that people associate with like masculine women and things of that nature. For one, when I'm kind of like on different platforms outside of this with men, I'm always the type to kind of like question men in a way that are on other platforms because my perspective is this. Now, how come you expect me to be, you want me to be basically on the feminine end of things, other than obviously I'm biologically a female, but I mean mentally and like emotionally and whatever. And it's like, to me, I'm like, so I guess for me it's a problem because it's like, okay, so you don't want to be feminine, right? You don't have that energy. You don't have that desire to be that way. And that's why for me it's like I don't really feel I can just feign femininity for men because it's like, one, I wouldn't know how to do that. Secondarily, it's like that would be a whole fake me where I would be so uncomfortable and like, what the hell? What the hell am I now? Like, I've created myself into this creature just to become somebody who is basically attractive to men. And I don't want to really have to fake who I am to attract men, especially if I'm trying to develop a relationship with a man. Now, like trying to be a player to a man, just to basically objectify him, I guess you could say, and like just to have one, like a one night stand type of thing, you know. That is a different story. I've done that, and I don't even really have any regrets on that. Because, I mean, it was just a one time thing. But if I'm going to have to pretend with you for a long time, for years to come, and create this image that you can be attracted to, when I'm like, I don't understand it, I don't know it, and I don't really care for that kind of image. You know what I mean? And it kind of irks me, being completely honest. Because it's like, a lot of the time, people think that, like, you should be more, I guess, of the feminine side of the relationship, right? But it's like, I'm always like with men, no, you don't want to be feminine, right? You like being on the masculine end. So why would I want to be on the feminine side? Because to me, it's just like, I understand I'm a female, but as far as personality, it just never makes much sense to me in that sense. I'm I'm understanding I'm probably not making a lot of sense here, but for me, it just kind of is like, if a man wants a certain thing, I guess I don't work well with the whole yin and yang situation for me. It's kind of like to me, in my point of view, like, well, if you can't do it, who's to say I can do this? Who's to say I can fulfill that role for you? I mean, like, you can't fulfill that role for me. And I don't know, it's just like, I've always had this kind of idea that don't ask me really to do anything you can't do yourself, kind of thing. That's just how I am. I kind of am like, with like relationships with men, I've always been of this idea kind of like I want more of a partnership rather than like a situation where that kind of dynamic of yin and yang kind of thing, that kind of like, it's just like something I feel like personally that system doesn't really work with me. But more than that is this. People always say, like, on certain platforms that, like, men, if you want a man of good value, of high value, things of that nature, you want a man that is a provider, a masculine man. When they say things like this, it's weird to me because it's like, now how is that supposed to be of high value to me? Like, a masculine man, an enforcement of masculinity for me is very much a turnoff, honestly. And so to me, I'm like, how is it high value for me? Aren't I supposed to enjoy the way that man is, right? I'm not supposed to dislike him as a person. I mean, eh, eh, if I dislike this man and he is not a good fit for me, then who's to say he's high value for me? I'm not saying that he's not high value for other women, but what I'm saying is that, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And maybe I'm that guy who thinks it's trash. That doesn't change that it's trash for me. Not saying that I'm upset or having an issue with the fact that, this man is masculine and more like of kind of like a person that I would probably butt heads with, basically. But I mean, I just think, like, can't we feel like a man or a woman is not someone that's a good fit for us without really having an issue with it? Like, I notice this often on a lot of these platforms where it's like, if a man is not what you're looking for, he's trash, you need to degrade him and see him as nothing. Or a woman that is not your ideal, we need to trash her and act like she's not ideal and she's nothing. I don't see it that way. I think that women who may not be the best match for another man is ideal to another man. So they're not the worst of the worst. Nobody is the worst of the worst when they're finding their partner. If if they're a healthy person to be around for certain people, I'm not saying like an abuser or anything, but if someone's just different and they're just not really made to be, maybe they're not made for like a hypergamous woman, for example. A man is not made for that. That doesn't mean he is a bad man. He's a good man for some other woman. A woman who is not used to that kind of lifestyle might not be someone who is meant for, a man who wants a woman like that. So for me, it's like, I always find like people always act like if you want to attract a good man, and it's like, well, what is a good man? Obviously, that wouldn't be a good man to me. Because for me, I might honestly feel if he's enforcing too much of that, like I gotta kind of like, oh, there's a comment. Jazz Diamond. You exclusively date a wealthy white man, right? No, no, I don't. I'm not really. I don't know. I'm just kind of like. I don't really thinking of the people that I've dated. I don't really date people who are like. I just date people who have a similar personality to mine. So, for example, I'm not gonna date someone who is really, really like. I don't. It's not that it's about poverty, but it's just that I don't date people who are really, really just like have like nothing in the sense of like mentality, which most of the time comes with income. But I don't really look at income really either way. I go off of personality more than income. So yeah, I'm not really into like I'm not one that dates on money because one, I don't even like men to have that much of a situation where they are basically I like to have my own thing. Like I don't want to just be like taking care of like a sugar baby basically. It weirds me out one and it messes up the dynamic for me. I like to be the one in control in a relationship. And honestly, like if we're really thinking about it right now, I'm not really looking for a relationship. I'm not really looking for like that kind of connection. But I'm just saying, as far as relationships, no, I don't really look for money. That's not my thing, really. Like I kind of think of just getting my own money, making money, being, successful on my own, and, finding a man who is on equal footing. There is reason for equal footing because a lot of, when you have unequal footing, it causes a power dynamic. And then, some men feel insecure when their woman is more successful than them and things of that nature. So to me, I don't like a man who it basically has more in that department than me. I like to have it more of an even situation. So that's why for me, like people always talk about like in the cases of like sugar babies and things of that nature and sugar daddies, it's like I don't really look for Dad's Diamond. Oh, I see. I thought you said in a previous video you only dated or slept with non-black men. Yes, I do. I'm not with non-black men because of wealth or anything of that nature. For me, it's just a natural thing. That's what I mean. A lot of people always think like that it's for money or something like that. Me, it's not at all. Me, it's just like I'm attracted to what I'm attracted to. And so that's not black men. It's usually white men. But it's not about income. Like I said, I've never dated a man who was like so poor or extremely poor or like like generally for me I don't like to date people who have like whatever their income is, a ghetto mindset basically. For me, I don't like men who have like a certain mindset basically where like what I just said basically I guess Blackistan you could say. And honestly, let's be real, there are lots of white people with that mindset and I don't appreciate that. It's very uncomfortable to me. But I mean, as far as income, I don't really care. I care about more personality than income. But I have never been with someone who was extremely like poor either. Anyway, going back to what I was saying on masculinity and things of that nature, it's like I just am like when I watch these platforms, watch these videos on YouTube and things of that nature, it's like I don't understand why it's assumed just because I'm a woman that it's going to be a good fit for me to find a man who is basically more successful than me and more of a provider and basically what they call a masculine man and things of that nature. Um, because I'm like, this goes back to what I've said in the past. Women aren't all the same. We want different things. We're individuals. And, when men date women thinking we're all the same, this has always been my biggest complaint. When men think we are all the same, we're all thinking the same way, we all have the same priorities, then we can't really express who we are as people, and men can't really get to know us when they're in that mindset because they think they already know us. And that's upsetting for me because it's like I never even got to make my case about who I am and who you are to figure out if we're a good match. We can't even figure this out, you know? Also, another thing, because one video, yeah, I remember now. I was supposed to make this video about one video from I think Chloe or someone like that. And that's another thing. Like with I've always noticed that on some of these channels when they talk about like masculinity in women, they seem to talk about like how women are supposed to be more of the type who are interested in men for like protection and things of that nature. And to me, it's almost like people always assume women have the same esteem of men overall. Like I said, from my background, how did I grow up? I grew up with a single mother and no men around, basically. And I never looked to men for protection. I always looked to myself as I got older, and as an adult, I've always looked to myself. So I've never had any like fear towards men, and I've never had any sense of like needing a man to protect me, really. I am a very independent type of woman in that sense, where I just don't look to men in that regard. And it's like, I understand maybe I could change the way I think, but to me, it's a bit of an insult, honestly, to say that I can't manage on my own. You know what I mean? Like, I can't actually feel self sufficient and feel like, I'm strong as a woman, as myself. I don't need to feel all flimsy and weak and need like some man to like take over and help me and things of that nature. To me, that just feels so disrespectful to me. And that in itself is a lot of what I was saying earlier, where I feel like with a lot of different characteristics of masculine men basically protecting and providing for women and trying to basically enforce like a masculinity of their own, it's like for me, I feel like I'm insulted by my entity, by my own masculinity. And I mean, like, as a woman, I guess people are like, you're not supposed to be masculine. But honestly, the way I see it is no, I'm supposed to be who I am. I'm not supposed to be what you're saying I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, why just because I'm female, I'm supposed to be X, Y, and Z? No, I'm supposed to be exactly who I am, and I embrace that. So that's why, to me, it never made any sense when people act like, I'm supposed to like certain things just because I'm a woman. And I mean, a major thing for me is like, I think this has a lot to do with like the previous things I've said. Like, I don't have a fear of men in that sense where I'm like, not like I'm the type that will easily confront. Honestly, I'm not scared of men. It's just how it is. Like, honestly, with men, often I kind of feel like I can, like, if a man is trying to be the type that is, I guess, like, trying to assert his power over me, I'm going to basically cut him down. It's just how I am. For me personally, I don't like being treated like I'm subservient or I'm not on the same level as him. To me, I'm like, I'm on the same level as you on every matter, really, honestly. That's just how I see it. To me, men are women and women are men. Like, there is no difference when it comes to people. It's, there's no difference. Like, people, for one, are individuals. So we can't really say that men are a certain way and women are a certain way. There are plenty of men who are the same as women, and there are plenty of women that are the same as men. And that can be in different levels of masculinity and femininity. So to me, I don't really see that, a man is supposed to have a certain role over me, really. And once he tries to assert such a thing, I'm going to assert my own personal position in the matter, which is not, you know, in any way different from his. Which, like I said, is a way of bumping heads, basically. And I mean, like, since I was young, I've always felt like a lot of men like this. Personally, I love to try and put them in their place, honestly. Like, a lot of the time, people always say, like, women love to be put in their place by these men. And sometimes these men will think that about me. But no, they'll realize I'm real serious. I love to try and consistently put men down that actually want to try and act like, you know, they're act like their, masculinity is supposed to be something that see as powerful, honestly. Like, no, that's as powerful as mine, in my opinion. And that's just what I do. I don't know. Honestly, for me, I kind of feel like for men of power, their power and their masculinity honestly threatens mine. And I honestly do not feel like in a relationship that would be obviously healthy for me. You know, it wouldn't be healthy for me to be in a relationship with a man who I feel threatened by, and I feel like I'm supposed to be made into basically nothing for him to feel good about himself. Like this just won't work for me because my personality is going to butt heads basically. And I feel like on many of these platforms, it almost seems like they're kind of like expected, like to be more like flimsy, like a flimsy nothing. Like I cannot handle that. I kind of like feel like I got as much balls as men who have power and masculinity, the high value men. To me, high value men, like I like to prove myself to them. I like to cut them down if they think that they're gonna try and dismiss me. No, I would prove my point. But it's just like if you can't realize that pretending I don't and like he's a shit is like no compliment to me. Like that's just a complete insult, honestly. Like I don't understand that. But I understand some women like to be kind of like the princess or the flower um in their relationships. And I mean like for me, you have to remember I can't relate to that. I may have wanted to be a princess at 2 years old or something when I was like a little child or whatever. But as long when I got older, I kind of like felt like hell no. Like that's just not my role really. And I don't know. It's just that's just a major thing for me with this that platform. I just felt like goodness, it's like you're putting men in a position and in a light that I just am like, well, I would never even have sex with a man if that's the idea you think of men in. I try not to think of men in that way. I try to think of them as just regular human beings, not like that. That just is like a very uncomfortable, insecure view of them, really, to me. And that's another part of me, I think, maybe, because like I've watched many sectors of YouTube, specifically the dating sector of YouTube, and it's kind of like um people always talk about needing, a woman or needing a man. For me, I don't really feel I need a man really with relationships. I don't really the things that people want for a man and the things that people want for a woman in those regards, I don't feel I need that. I just like to like if it were for relationships, what I would like is an emotional bond. Like we're similar personality wise, things of that nature, but not that kind of power dynamic thing going on. Like that to me is something that I am completely opposed to. Like, I don't really wish to be like the princess. I'd rather be like their equal kind of like thing. Because I don't know, to me it's just like you think of the role of a princess. The princess is like a little girl, isn't she? She's not the queen even. She doesn't make any decisions. She's just a little girl. I don't understand why I would want to be a little girl. Like to me, I don't know. Like if that was what being with a man was, I would stay single the rest of my life, and I am happy being single. I've never actually been in a relationship, and I'm very happy about that. I honestly like. being alone. But I mean, like, the reason I like being alone is because I don't want a relationship with a man where, and when I say relationship, I mean like a year long relationship. I've dated, but I never had like long term relationship like a year. One, because I like get bored. If I start seeing a guy for 5 months, I get annoyed with him after a while, and I want to basically be with someone totally opposite from him. Usually, it is very physical too. I like different types of men, and for me, I mean, like I might think one guy's attractive, but if I've had sex with him several times, after a while, I kind of am like, well, I want to see something else now. You know, that's just how I am, and I don't know, like honestly, with relationships, I mean, I'm happy I haven't had a long term relationship where it's unhealthy. Like, for me, that's a major thing. I like to have relationships that are healthy. If it's anything that's bad, you need to cut it loose, basically. And, I see a lot of people with a lot of baggage. And for me, I'm just not into that baggage part of relationships. This is why, for me, when I was like in my early 20s, like when I was 20, I was 20 flat. And like I said, I used to talk to these LGBT people, and they would always talk about how they went into relationships because they felt like this was the only way for them to find someone that would love them, even though it was bad. And then obviously, these are like old trans women and trans men, and they still remember these terrible relationships because they added these scars to their lives when they could have just not been involved with these people and been happy people. So that's why for me, I'm like, I don't know, I don't feel like there's much of a void where I need to be loved by somebody that is not good for me. You know what I mean? If I want, to have an emotional connection and to be loved, I want it from someone who is actually genuinely a good match. That's how I feel. I also don't really get why some women, on these platforms, why they're always expected to be so fragile. Like, to me, it's like trying to pretend I'm fragile, like be trying to pretend I'm white. Like, I don't mean that in a racist way, but I mean like it's like the complete opposite of me. You can't expect me to try to pretend I am something like I'm like there's nothing about me that's fragile. Like that would be so weird to me. And I'd feel so uncomfortable. And then I'd probably get more angry because I'm pretending to be so fragile and stuff. And, you know, kind of like, like if you, it's kind of like a cause and effect situation. So if I were to pretend that, I probably would come up really hard and really fiery because I just tried to make myself seem vulnerable and things of that nature. And now I feel that much and that little and that inferior. And now I have to really boost myself up and try and make up for what I just did to myself. So I would never make myself seem like I was just vulnerable like that. And like I've seen like on some like I said, hypergamous platforms, it's like they seem to act like, you have to have that kind of like vulnerability to yourself or fragility towards yourself. And I guess it's the childish side of them. Basically the side, that's like the sugar babyish. But I'm not saying they're sugar babies, because many of the time they're not sugar babies, but I'm saying that aspect of them. Now, when I say sugar babies, I'm not saying because some people are sugar babies and some people are not sugar babies, but they still have the same mindset from my point of view. Like, I've talked about this before. Like, I'd hear some people and they'd be, I guess the mindset of kind of like, I don't know, like the traditional old way of how women and men were in relationships or whatever. And to me, I wouldn't see that mindset anything differently than, somebody who is a sugar baby. Like, the way your brain is set up is kind of like the same thing to me. You know, I definitely am not, you know, wired that way. And to me, like, it makes me cringe to think of myself that way, honestly. Nothing against them. Like, honestly, I don't hold anything against people who are that way because to me, I'm like, well, that's cool for you. It works for your life. You feel good about it. So that's great. But for me, it's just like, think of it. If you told a man to do these things, what do you think he would do? You know? Do you think he would be comfortable with that? Don't you think he would be very uncomfortable with it? I mean, I think many men would feel very insulted to be told to be basically like a fragile, flimsy nothing. Like, obviously, they wouldn't want to be in that position. And I don't know. For me, I personally don't want it, and I take it as an insult. And I think a lot of people would find that as an insult, men and women. I think it's often just expected that a man would find it as an insult, but women wouldn't because it's always been socially expected for women to put themselves on a lower level, which is, I mean, not true because there are plenty of women who are just individuals and want different things. That's why men of power turn me off over and over and over again because it's like I said, your power, what's it doing to me? What's it doing for me? Your power sticks with you, but what does it say about me if I got nothing? And I'm just basically relying off of you and following your lead. It says that I'm basically nothing. I'm the guy who's got no power here. I'm just some person who's just trying to feed off your power, kind of like a parasite or something. Like, I would just feel disgusted with myself. But I mean, for me, there's another part of this. Oh yeah, because I was watching a video, and they were talking about. Oh yeah, it was about how do I know this is kind of off to the side, but this is actually all about the specific video that a YouTuber made, and she was talking about because I'm reading my notes here. Sorry. Um, yeah, he was talking about in the last part how how people are supposed to like how women are supposed to dress a certain way and look a certain way to basically attract men of high value and men that are pretty decent and things of that nature. But my thing is this, because when we talk about value and things of that nature, they're talking about, I guess, wealth and power and things of that nature. My thing is not power or anything like that. For one, when I'm attracted to a man, it's got nothing to do with that. It's first off, it has to do with looks because I'm very visual, and then secondarily, it would probably have to do with emotions and things of that nature, which obviously I can't see. I would have to know after time um, goes on, And the thing is about this is like the advice I found problematic for me because they were saying like men are very visual, and that to dress well and things of that nature. But it's like for me personally, I love to see pretty things. I love I'm very visual. I'm very much about beauty. So for me, when I'm dressing nicely, I do not want to see someone who is unattractive with some money bothering me. Because then, at that point, now I'm seeing a whole bunch of ugly things, a whole bunch of things that I'm not attracted to, bothering me and causing issues. When I see a man, I want to see beauty too. You know, it's not really a shock. I mean, like if a man wants to see beauty when he sees a woman, I want to see beauty when I see a man. You know, and I mean, when I care honestly about looks and things of that nature, it seems like I always felt like I was harassed, like even heavier by people I wasn't attracted to. Not not specifically, oh, a low class of people. No, it could be someone who, for example, has a really good class. They could have a really good job. They could be on that job right then and there. They could be in power right then and there. And they're getting ready to make my life hell because when I'm not interested, they're gonna get angry, and then there's gonna be problems on a very high level. Not like I'm angry at you, I'm gonna curse at you, like on a very high level. Like obviously, I don't want that because I mean, like that did not help me because I didn't want to attract that person. I didn't care that they had money. I didn't care they had a good job. I didn't care they had a nice car. What I cared about was, you know, I care about the person, not the objects they have. We're talking about a relationship, I'm not getting in a relationship with a car, with a house, with money. Those are things that I'm getting in a relationship with. For me, if I'm interested in a relationship, I'm getting in a relationship with a human being, with a man. He's got to be something I like to look at, and he's got to be someone that is a great personality with mine and complements each other. So that's why for me, it's just like, why would I want to dress like that? Like, dress really nicely to appeal to somebody as if I'm like some kind of object and I'm only just looking for the highest bidder or something. Like, this is such objectification that I just can't comprehend for my personal life. I can't do that. I just can't do that. Then also, oh yeah, the whole part about receiving help from men. Yeah, I don't accept help from men. Oh, there's a comment. Oh, Melissa Cano. Oh, hi, Melissa Cano. Exactly, I feel the same way. Yeah, I totally relate with you. Back to what I was saying. Yeah, I don't receive help for two reasons, honestly. One, because I am not. I don't like the idea of being kind of like a weak damsel. That bothers me. I'm not weak. Do men like to be feel like they're weak? That's why my if a man doesn't want to feel like he's weak, why would you think I would want to feel like I'm weak? You know, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then on top of it, it's like often when men offer to give you help, they're also offering for other reasons. You know what I mean? They're not just offering to give help. When you accept anything from a man, then it's like you're basically going to accept. You're probably going to be accepting doing a lot of other things for him. I don't feel like dealing with propositions and different things of that nature. This is why I don't let men in on offering to help or things of that nature. Unless maybe I was interested in him, but even then, I don't like it because it's making me feel weak at the end of the day. And now I'm not very happy with that. I'm not comfortable, even with men that I was like, that I've been intimate with. It's always been for me like, I don't want I don't want to feel like I'm in a situation where he is more powerful than me. Like that makes me uncomfortable in itself. Even when I've like been hooking up with guys who were like that. Like I generally didn't like that. But generally, with men who ask for like asks for help and things of that nature, I just want to ignore them most of the time. I mean, it ties into the whole provider part of it, and for me, it's just like the provider part of it isn't my thing. Oh, hi, Robert Curdon. I haven't seen you in a while. Interesting. What about friendship between men and women? What about friendship with men and women? I'm fine with friendship with men and women. In fact, honestly, with socialization, I generally socialize a lot better with men than women. But the thing is, the whole assertion of masculinity, men tend to not like that side of me. So then it's kind of like a little bit of a, like I said, heads can bump quite easily. With women, I don't have that quality with them at all. It's just that, I don't know, socialization is like a little bit different with women. That's why, like in a crowd of women, I'm never really associated with a crowd of women. Robert Curtin, hi Anne. I mean, can male friends, male friends help female friends without it seeming to be hidden motives? Um, I guess it depends. I mean, like if they're a friend, I guess it would depend on the situation. If they it just depends on the person. Like if the guy is a creepy friend, then that's different. But if he's just a genuine friend, probably would be fine in my eyes, honestly. But like for me, my main thing is a lot of the time with men, they try to hold something they do for you as a way of power. That shit is never gonna work for me. That's just how I see it. It's never gonna work. And to me, like personally, I feel like in relationships, I prefer it to be like in control, honestly. Like I at least need to be in control or at least the man needs to be in a situation where he can at least have a partnership. A lot of the time people always like to talk about leading women and like submitting and things of that nature, and it's like it's not a thing for me. I need to be in control of my life. It's not like I'm just in control of my life because no man's in my life, or like I need a man to take over things. I mean, why did I turn 18 if I need a man to control my life? I should have just stayed 17. I don't need to turn 18. Really honestly. Oh, Robert Curdon. I understand wanting to feel in control or feel respected. Yeah, I mean, like to me, I think individuals, despite gender, prefer to be, in control in many cases. Now, some people don't, and I'm not judging them, but I'm just saying personally, for me, that's a thing that must be done. And I feel like men that need to like provide, protect, and feel needed are too emotional and like too needy for me. Like because they need to feel like they are, the they are the type that they need to feel like they are the women who like they are needed because they're the ones that the women need, basically. Oh, I knew you were commenting. I'm sorry. Okay, I provide for women, but I don't seek to control women. Oh, that's cool. I don't know. It works out for different types of people. Like I said, some women like to be controlled. Some women like to be provided for. All that stuff. But for me personally, it's just like I do not have any interest in, in men who need that, because it's like you need something from me in return. And you know what you need in return? It's basically me to kind of like validate. And that's what I'm like not really into. Like basically validate your provision, protection, and feel needed. And I mean, like, what? I don't have the desire or the interest or anything in me that needs a man for these things. So feigning a need would just be fake. And that would be wrong for the man. That would be wrong for me because I'd be feeling like shit the whole time. And I mean, it would just be terrible. And that's the thing. It's just like I do not feel like I need a man who needs to feel like I'm like a child who needs his protection. Like to me, I feel like if you need that out of me, I'm just not the one because like I'm I'm not gonna give that validation. I mean, like for me, it, it's just gonna make me feel like we're not on the same wavelength. We're not on the same page. You don't understand who I am or what I am, and I don't understand you too much. I mean, like if we really thought about it, maybe I do understand to some extent. Maybe at best, I could see myself doing that to some extent, but mostly I would not want to do that. But honestly, oh, there's a comment. I'm sorry. Men who love women want them to be safe, so logically we have an instinct to provide for. But the thing is, they kind of assert that women can't do it on their own, which is fine. I guess some women can't do it on their own. Or maybe they're not self sufficient. That's their business. But I mean, like, for me, associating me with needing protection, like, what if a woman assumed a man needed protection or provision and had that instinct on him? Men would obviously, many men, not all, I'm not saying all, but many men would push away from women like that. That's just how many men are. That's not all men. Some men who are self-sufficient have that mentality, and I have the same mentality. So I don't understand why it's expected of women in as a whole to want to be provided for and protected by other people than themselves, and not to actually be self-reliant and actually be self-sufficient. A lot of men don't know how to love in any other way but by giving stuff to the woman. Yeah, I know, I don't know. Like to me that is uncomfortable. But honestly, for me, like with dating even it's kind of weird because like with dating for me, I've had it where I didn't even like when the guy would try to pay for stuff, like for the dinner and stuff. Because usually I always wanted to pay for the whole dinner, and I'd either pay for half or pay for half generally. And I would usually pay for half or none. And one time I paid for none, and I did something so that I could give the money back because I felt so uncomfortable with that. So yeah, I really do not like when men do anything for me in those regards because it weirds me out. Yeah, I know some men do like protection and need protection. Some people are, the type that need protection and things of that nature, but not all men. You get what I'm saying? Not all women need that either. That's what I'm saying. People are people. And that's why I said in the beginning, men are women and women are men. where there are plenty of people who feel a certain way. And that doesn't have to do with our gender. It just means we are this way because we're individuals who feel a certain way. Robert Curtin, I admit in some situations I might need protection, just not financially. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I understand that. But it's just like in the sense of what I was talking about, like, you'd have to hear it from the beginning of the live. What they're talking about is just like in those regards of being provided for and protection and like fear of men and things of that nature. It's just like no, I don't see men as the image that she was basically trying to portray of men. That's just not me. I'm not like, oh god, there. Sorry, I don't like that song. Um, but yeah, there's another comment. Robert Curtin, I am willing to admit that I'm not invincible. There could be situations where I'm the one who's weak. Yeah, but we're all human, you know. We all have our faults and things of that nature. Nothing wrong in admitting that. I agree. Personally, I mean, I have my own faults too. So, in general, I just kind of am like, why do I like? That's another thing. Like, people always have different ideas of why women need men. And for me, it's like, why do I need a man since I'm actually self sufficient without a man? Because that's what she was talking about. Like, um, why do you need a man? And if you're not like into, if you're not into men providing for you and protecting you and things of that nature, then for me, it's like, it's not about that, you know? It's like, why, for me, why do a men, need a partner if they can, if they're the ones, in her case? I'm not saying in every case, but in her case, that can, or that can protect themselves and things of that nature. For me, I mean, like, it's not about that. It's more like about the emotional side of it and the physical side of it. I think men and women look for a person compatible to them. Shoot. Bye. Hello? I'm sorry about that. But what happened was I lost battery in my laptop. So I had to actually restart it. I'm sorry. I'm back now. Um, what was I saying? There's a part. But yeah, I feel like people just look for compatibility at the end of the day, you know. You have to remember, not everyone even likes men, likes their opposite sex. You know what I mean? Some people actually like the same sex. And the dynamic is different in those cases too. So it's like, I just think like, not everyone wants the same thing, you know? And that explains itself. And honestly, for me, it's just like I kind of am at the point where I've always had this mentality where I won't do anything for a man that he can't do himself. Like, for me, it's like if you can't take that role, then how do you expect me to take this role? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't ask men to do anything I can't do, you know? So it kind of is like the same thing. It's a two-way street again. Like, that's just how I am. Oh, and then there's this other part where she's talking about anger, kind of like towards men. And that's the thing. Like, I don't have any anger towards men, honestly, because for me, I've never been in a relationship to have a bad situation happen to me. Um, but honestly, men can definitely detect when you have, you know, masculinity versus femininity in your voice, you know, and things of that nature, like lack of subservience and things of that nature. And for me, I mean, like, maybe that is seen as a challenge to some, but I don't personally have any, like, sense of trying to have any vitriol towards them or anything of that nature. It's just kind of like, you know, some people have a certain perspective towards, you know, men in general. And it just depends on the person. For me, I just have a different perspective than this lady. I personally don't like weakness. Why? I mean, is strength like associated with masculinity? Unlike many of these platforms, it seems like they always associate, you know, being feminine with just basically having no strength at all. And basically not being anything, like just basically making yourself out to be like some weak puddle of nothing. And for me, I just, that's a major thing. Like, well, I can't deduce myself down to that. It would just make me feel like, what the fuck am I? Like, seriously, I just feel like, what the fuck is this? Like, I would be too uncomfortable with that. As I said before, I just don't really understand this. Oh, yeah, this is another part of what she was saying. I I get so weirded out by this idea of some people who want women to submit to men when, you know, when like men won't submit to women. Like, to me, it's just like, I don't get that. Like, why would I want to submit to a man? I mean, like, is he going to submit to me? It doesn't make any sense, really, to me. I'm just not the type, like I said, that's going to do anything for a man that he can't do himself. If he can't submit to a woman, then I don't understand why he's asking me to submit to him. He understands that it's not something he can do. So why would he expect a woman to be able to do it? Why would he expect me to do it? You know? If you're just thinking, you know, just because I'm a woman, I'm supposed to do this, this, and that, you're not really thinking of putting yourself in my shoes. You're not thinking of putting yourself in my situation. And if you can't understand me as your partner, then I don't even understand why I'm here because you can't even understand my perspective. I think in a relationship, you should be able to understand each other basically if you were in their situation, you know. And I mean, like, this kind of like that kind of woman who wants that is kind of like weird to me because it's like men, it's like they, to me, want men to like control them because they lack strength. And I mean, like, to me, that's fine and dandy for them, but it doesn't mean that I should weaken myself to their level. Like, I don't see why I would do that. Just like whatever strength or value or thing that they have, like they say they have more um, female or feminine energy. Why would you want to weaken your strength and feminine energy down to my level when, I mean, even if it was a benefit? You know what I mean? You wouldn't want to do that, right? They always say they value their femininity. Well, if you value your femininity, why can't you understand that like someone like me would value their strength and actual independence and self-sufficiency? I don't see also another thing is men who lead as oppression. I don't. Because a lot of feminists always see that as oppression. I don't. I actually think that they're the smart ones that do that. Um, to me, I just think that people who follow, because that's the thing with me, you have to understand how I work. With leaders, I've never thought a male leader or a female leader is someone who is the one in the wrong, or they're oppressive or bossy or anything. I see them as the one that's in control, the one who actually is able to get all these people who are out of line in order. You know, the softer individuals, the people who I guess are mentally softer, a little weaker, things of that nature. I don't see anything wrong with being a leader. Honestly, for me, I mean, I guess I kind of respect it because personally, I do not have time for followers. Honestly, I'm more of a Sigma. So for me, I love to lead myself. I'm kind of like I don't take leadership and I don't follow. I just am kind of like, well, if you can't find your way, find someone else who can, kind of like thing. But sometimes I guess I can lead, honestly. But I'm not really much of a follower. But generally, I just don't really care enough to like corral people into a certain direction or anything of that nature. And like that's why to me, I mean, like I don't hold anything against it. It's just like, well, that's not going to work for me because I don't follow on that level. I don't. Not with men in that regard. That's just like weird to me. It's like, well, I'm an individual. I didn't say I was going to morph into somebody else. I'm going to be like his extra appendage or something. Oh, hi, brown girl Ari. But I mean, like people who need to be controlled. I mean, that's not even their fault. That's just kind of like how they were made, I guess. Like some people are made to be more of the type that want to be controlled, and I know like there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I have nothing against other people who are not a good fit for me, other women who aren't like me. I don't hold anything against it because in the dating sector of the world, It's kind of like everybody has their own match, and we'll never run out of different types. There's no need to shame anybody because someone's different, because all of our differences make the world go round better. Hi, oh, you said, oh, I missed most of the live. Oh, yeah, I'm almost done with this live actually. You can watch the replay, I guess. It's just basically on this video that I came upon. I was supposed to make this video a couple days ago, but I kind of got busy doing other things. I was busy last week. But, yeah, so I'm just kind of like making a, guess, response video or like a reaction video to it. I guess I should have actually, I don't think I can actually though. I mean, like, aren't I supposed to ask for permission? Um, if I could have just shown some of the video that I was talking about, but yeah. Anyway, I do notice though, what I don't like about some men is that some men, try to break women down to certain levels, and for me personally, that's just never ever worked, honestly, because I'm the type who really likes to bite back at men, and I mean, like, if you give me a reason to bite back at you, I'm gonna really bite back at you because I was already wanting to do it anyway. And I mean, like I said, if I feel like I'm threatened, then I like to cut it down. Like I like to cut down men who are more, I guess you could say, in power and things of that nature. So, if someone's trying to cut me down, well, yeah, I'm gonna have to feel that. And I mean, I guess that's why I have a defensive side to me with men of that nature, because it's just like I'm very, I'm very just, I guess, protective in that regard. And honestly, I mean, like, I guess I'm really protective of myself and like to stay true to myself, and I just feel like, you never really turn me into a woman like this. Like, I just never had any interest in it. And I'm like, I mean, if you want to get negative over it, I'm just going to be like, can you just find the woman who is actually into this stuff? Because I'm never going to be, you know? But in ending, I kind of feel like no man is really worthy of submitting to if he can't submit to me. That's just how I feel. Like, I feel like if you can't submit to me, then don't expect me to submit to you. And I mean, like, if he wants to ask me to do anything he can't do himself, then he already knows the answer. He knows he can't do it. Then he knows I can't do it. And in total, like, I am generally wired to lead. If, like, you can't accept my leadership, don't expect me to accept his. Like, to me, it's a partnership, and it's even and equal. So, I mean, like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And that should be the expectation in such a relationship. I don't feel like taking a lower role or a feminine role in the relationship is an ideal relationship for me. And what she just described to me was an inferior role. Now, to her, maybe it was the highlight of her life. And that's cool, and I'm happy for her. Maybe may she find the happiness she needs in her life. But for me, it's just like I do not understand how you can expect, you know, me to want to take such a role when the way I see it is, without a man in this type of situation, I would be a lot happier with myself, then why would I add someone who's gonna make me feel like shit? You know? Like, the reason I would enjoy, like, the reason I would involve a man in my life would be for the positive, for the good, not the bad. If he's bad in any way, he doesn't need to be around. So, I mean, if I have to change myself, if I have to take a road that feels like it's completely opposite to the life I live as a single person, then he doesn't need to be around because he's completely morphed me into something that I don't even recognize as myself at that point. And that is not what a relationship is supposed to do to me. So that's not my ideal. And I mean, for me, I guess I just can't flourish in nothingness, honestly. I can't flourish in being treated like a little girl. Like, I'm way beyond that at this point. I mean, I'm 27. I'm way too old to be being treated like nothing, like a little child. So that's all I have to really say on this. I know I went a little long on this video, but it's just like that. I just had this a lot of things I had to say on it, and it was a long set of notes. I'm kind of finished now, and yeah, that's about it. Yep. I just in total think that her situation and how she thought an ideal relationship for a feminine woman or how to be a more feminine woman in regard to masculine men just was a nightmare. And really honestly, it was just like, oh my God, like if that's what you see yourself as, it's like, well, I don't like the chains. Like, I mean, like, I don't like the inferior position and the feeling like you're just a lesser person. Like, that's just not what I want in my life. And yeah, I guess I'm done with this video. Thanks for listening. Bye.